Have you ever thought about history not just as a bunch of random events, but as a structured journey, like a road with a real destination? Well, today we're diving into this really fascinating theological framework from a 1982 speech by Sun Myung Moon that lays out exactly that kind of vision. So let's get into it.
So the core idea here, and it's a big one, is that humanity isn't currently on the direct road of God's will. Think of that as the original, perfect path. Instead, because of what the text calls the human fall, we're on a kind of detour. It's called the Providential Path, and it's basically a long journey of restoration designed to get us back to where we were supposed to be all along.
All right, so here's our roadmap for this explainer. We're going to walk through the 5 key stages of this journey. We'll start with why this path is even necessary in the first place, then map out its 4 big historical ages. After that, we'll look at the role of a guide, understand the cost of moving forward, and finally explore the ultimate destination.
Okay, so first things first, why do we even need a providential path? Well, this whole framework starts by laying out a foundational problem, a sort of fork in the road that created the need for this journey of recovery to begin with. And the solution to that problem has a name: restoration. In this context, restoration and salvation are pretty much the same thing. It's the process of bringing all of us, all of humanity, back to that intended state of perfection. This is the central goal of this entire historical journey we're talking about.
So, what does this roadmap actually look like? Well, the text divides the entire history of restoration into 4 really distinct ages. Each one has its own rules, its own requirements. Let's take a look at how this whole historical progression builds, one age at a time. Now, this is where it gets super interesting. Check out how this chart maps out history. The first age, which lines up with the Old Testament, is all about material authority. The main requirement, making offerings. Then we move to the second age, the New Testament era. Now the authority shifts to human authority, and the requirement becomes sacrificial service. The third age shifts again, this time to God's authority, and the central theme there is forgiveness. And finally, the fourth age is all about love's authority, and the whole point is the fulfillment of the ideal.
Now, according to this framework, humanity can't just navigate these really complex ages on its own. It's too much. A central guide is needed, someone to lead the way, and basically represent all of us before God.
And this guide is presented in the role of a Messiah or a high priest. The whole purpose of this figure is to make a universal offering for everybody, past, present, and future, to help humanity keep moving forward on the path.
The text lays out a very specific plan, a providential scheme, from 2,000 years ago. Step 1 was for the Messiah to unite with the Jewish faith and the nation of Israel. Step 2, on that unified foundation, a national offering could be made. And step 3, if that was successful, the plan would expand to unite with the Roman Empire, which, basically represented the whole world at the time.
So you have to ask, right? If that was the plan, why didn't it happen? Well, the source argues that the plan failed because the chosen people just fundamentally misunderstood their role. They saw their position as one to be admired, not one of service to the entire world. And because of that, they just didn't recognize the Messiah's global purpose. And that brings us to a pretty challenging concept. Moving forward on this road of restoration, it isn't free. There's a spiritual price to pay, a cost for progress, and the text calls it indemnity. The speech itself poses a very direct question that really gets to the heart of it all. If this path is so hard and requires this kind of payment, why on earth should anyone walk it? And the answer given is basically one of pure necessity. Indemnity isn't optional. It's the only way to get back onto the true road of God's will. It's presented as just an unavoidable part of the journey back home. So in that second age we talked about, the era of human authority, this price tag takes the form of sacrificial service. And the text points to Jesus as the ultimate example, who, as the Bible says, came not to be served, but to serve. And this isn't just some one-time individual thing. The idea is that this responsibility to serve is supposed to keep expanding. It starts with you, the individual, then your family, your tribe, your nation, and ultimately, it has to reach the entire world. This finally brings us to the last stage of the Providential Road. After all the ages of offerings and service, the journey comes down to a single principle that is both the method and the destination: love. So the key to unlocking the next age, the age of God's authority, is stated in this incredibly direct and, let's be honest, challenging way. The one requirement is to forgive and love your enemy.
And wow, this just perfectly illustrates the standard for that love, doesn't it? It's not some passive feeling. It's an active, powerful love, shown by Jesus on the cross, loving and forgiving his enemies, even in that moment of ultimate suffering.
The text then makes this incredibly powerful claim. It says that military might, material power, winning an argument, none of that can win the ultimate spiritual battle. The only force that can truly conquer your adversary, who's identified here as Satan, is this incredibly profound level of love.
And this leads to a conclusion that is, well, it's pretty wild. What's the final qualification to belong to God? It's when a person loves their enemy so completely, so totally, that the enemy themselves gives up and admits that person deserves God's love. It's like getting a letter of recommendation from your greatest opponent.
And so this whole framework really leaves us with a final provocative question. By showing us a path that ends with loving your enemy so much that you actually earn their admiration, it challenges every single one of us to ask, what truly is the ultimate standard of love?